Just a few years ago, at the beginning of 2023, I was a stay-at-home mom. I was extremely isolated. I was insecure because I felt as if I didn't have any value. I just didn't know who I was. I felt like I had lost myself in motherhood. Before I was a stay-at-home mom, I had a career. I was working. I was making pretty good money, working in finance and baking and things like that. And then I got into trucking with my um, then fiance, now husband. But once I became a stay-at-home mom, I was a stay-at-home mom for a few years, and I really felt like I lost myself. I became socially awkward. I felt like I didn't know how to communicate with people anymore outside of like goo goo gaga. And it just took a while for me to start to come back to who I knew myself to be. So now, fast forward, we're at the end of 2025, and I am now a natural hair salon owner. And I just want to talk about my journey of how I got here because it's crazy, and I'm still in disbelief. So I'm sitting here right now inside of Studio Eman. My name is Paige Eman. And yeah, let's get into it, how we got here. So when I was a stay-at-home mom, I started to tap back into my faith. And that faith being Christianity. And when I started to get back into Christianity, I wanted to do it and take it seriously. So that meant reading the Bible, applying what I read in the Bible, and just seeing what happened. Because, God made all these promises in the Bible. And I'm like, okay, well, if you're really God and these are really the promises that you made, let me just try and see what happens. Let me just take a little step, and just see what happens from there. So I would just do little things like, if I felt like he told me to do something, I would do it and I would reap the fruits of it. So, for example, I talked about in another video how I felt like God was telling me to ask this random guy to go to coffee with my best friend and I. And we both she's married, I was engaged at the time, and it was just really weird. But that has turned into probably the most fruitful relationship that I've been obedient in cultivating. And so it's just things like that, whenever I felt like God would tell me to do something, if I felt like it was God, I would just move on it and just see what happens. And that living in that state of just borderline delusion has been fun. And, it's something that the world would call delusional, but it's been fun and it's been fruitful. So back in 2023, I felt like God was telling me that I need to go back to work, which I was all for because I was tired of being at home, goo goo gaga and changing diapers, I just felt like I had more inside of me. There's nothing wrong with being a stay-at-home mom. I loved it for when I loved it, but I have just always felt so ambitious and so driven, and I felt like being a stay-at-home mom for that season was stifling me. I felt like I was in a cage, like a wild bull, like in a cage that can't live to my fullest potential, And so when I felt like God was telling me to go back to work, I was like, great, And so my problem was I didn't pray about what he wanted me to do. So I'm sending out all these applications. My resume, I felt, was fire, and I'm getting rejections. Like, it's like I'm submitting an application at 9 o'clock and I'm receiving a rejection email at 9 o'clock in 50 seconds. Like, I'm like, okay, so it really starts to beat up on my self-esteem because I'm like, I have work experience. And at every job that I've had, I have been one of the best at my job. Like, my resume is amazing. So I thought, But what I realize now, because I know there's somebody watching this. Sorry, my low battery thing came up. But there's somebody watching this who is experiencing that. you're a stay-at-home mom, or you're a mom in general, or you're a stay-at-home dad, or you're a dad, or you're whoever, and you're sending out all these applications trying to like go somewhere, but you know that God has put a talent inside of you, a gift inside of you that has been burning in your chest that you are ignoring. We're going to get into that. Let me go back to my story. So sending out all these applications, getting rejected after rejection after rejection. And so finally, after I got tired of it, I'm like, Lord, what am I supposed to be doing? Because I thought that you wanted me to go back to work. And he's like, I'm glad you asked. Why are you up here wasting your time? You should have been asking me this. And so I felt like at the time God told me to go back into doing hair. Mind you, I'm one of those girls who I was doing hair. I was running a hair salon whole situation out of my parents' basement from the time I was like 12 years old. I had grown my mom's friends coming to get their hair done by me, friends from school coming to get their hair done by me. I make my quick little $25 for whole box braids going down to the butt. Like, they were getting over on me, but it's okay because I was 12 and I wanted my little $25 to go get my nails done or whatever I wanted to do at 12, you know? And so back when you can get a full set for $25, but I digress. It's RIP to that situation. But yeah, I was just running a whole hair salon in my parents' basement. And so I ended up telling my parents, I'm like, this was when I was in high school and it was time for me to start looking at colleges. I'm like, I don't want to go to college. I want to do hair. And my parents told me they were not being malicious. They were just doing what they thought was best for me. So I'm not blaming them for anything. I love my parents. They're amazing. They did a great job. So let's not come from my parents, okay? But my parents told me, you're too smart to be doing hair. You need to go to school for something else. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know hair was for dumb people, but okay. I'll do what you say. So I literally went on Google and I Googled what makes the most money? What career makes the most money? And it said finance. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm good at math. Was it finance? Yeah. I'm like, I'm good at math, so I went to finance. Boom. So I ended up going to an HBCU. I went to Hampton University for 2 years, and they had a 5-year MBA program. The MBA program was heavily leaning towards accounting. So I'm like, I'm just going to do this whole accounting thing. It was really hard. Kudos to everybody who graduated in the 5-year MBA program because your girl wasn't clicking for me. It was not clicking for me. And so after year 2, I'm like, I don't think this is it. So I came home. I ended up graduating from Wayne State. Went into banking, and yeah, I hated it. I hated it. So I was a teller first. I worked my way up to an assistant manager of a bank. That was amazing. I dealt with people every day. Like, my customers were amazing, all that, right? Then I transitioned into wealth management. That was not for me. It was very corporate. It was very stiff. It was very like, it just wasn't for somebody like me who loves to just be authentically myself. When you go into something like that, they want you to be cookie cutter, like you talk like this, you interact with clients like this, you say this, don't have too much personality because the wealthy clients don't like that. You know, I just, it wasn't for me. So I ended up getting diagnosed with anxiety disorder, and it just took a toll on my health in general. Like, I ended up getting like high blood pressure. It was just a mess. It was just a mess. And so I left that, went into doing other, entrepreneurial things, whatever. And yeah, met my boyfriend when I started working at a trucking company. I lived a million lives, so I'm skipping over some lives, going into the trucking company. Met my boyfriend, and I worked in the trucking company, and I ended up talking to him about getting a truck because I worked in the back end, doing their accounting and their dispatch, both. I saw like these truckers are making some good money. So babe, get you a truck, right? He got a truck, started going over the road. I started going over the road with him, working over the road at the same time. I got fired because the boss didn't like that, even though she said I could do it. But then once I started doing it, she didn't like it anymore. That's fine. But yeah, we ended up starting a fleet of trucks. We had like 5 trucks going at the same time. We didn't have like 5. We had 5 trucks going at the same time. And then COVID hit and the world turned upside down. Gas prices went way up. If you have ever or know anybody in trucking, you know exactly what I mean. Gas prices like doubled. The spot market rates tanked. So, and we still had to pay all this money in insurance. It was just a lot at the same time, right? So I ended up getting pregnant while we're on the road. This is before I got back saved, you know. But you know, people get pregnant, you know. It doesn't mean it's right. Anyway, going back to the story. So I ended up getting pregnant while we were on the road, and he tells me, you know, I'll keep working. You just stay home with the baby. Okay, cool. You know, I'm going to be in my soft girl situation. I loved it so much in the beginning. And then I started to get bored because I'm the type of person that I just need to be creative and I need to be doing something. You know, I hate sitting around. I hate not using my potential. I hate not just being productive, you know, and feeling like I'm contributing. And I started to feel like my value was decreasing because all I'm doing is cooking, cleaning, taking care of the baby, making sure you have dinner, make sure that, like, being a servant, I felt like, you know. Now, looking back, the stay-at-home mom role is extremely valuable. It just wasn't something that I enjoyed long. So, going back to how I got here, I felt like, you know, after I submitted all these applications, you know, I'm asking God, like, what do you want me to do? I felt like he said, go back into doing hair. And the reason why I stopped doing hair was because I started to work at this hair salon as an apprentice to, you know, he was training me to get my cosmetology license and things like that. Because in Michigan, you can work under somebody for 2 years and get your license that way as an apprentice. So I was starting that situation. And he's a huge hairstylist here in Michigan. He wins all these hair show awards, and he was in, well, clips of his work was shared in that Chris Rock movie, Good Hair, things like that, right? And I'm working under him, and he has me doing a hair show with him. And he has me gluing in this hair piece on this lady's head. And I got glue all in her hair. And it was like the most basic thing, like, Paige, just put the glue on the piece, stick it on the part that's already been prepped to be glued, you know. I don't know how I got the glue all in this lady's hair. But when I tell you, I was embarrassed. It was a blow to my ego. And from then on, I'm like, I can't do hair anymore. Like, I'm not supposed to do this. Why I was so dramatic about that, I don't know. It traumatized me for whatever reason. Like, I don't know. But I didn't do hair for years after that. And I think at that time, I was maybe like 18, 19, something like that, right? I think I was home from college break, so I might have been like 19, right? I was young. And so I'm like, I'm not doing hair anymore. I can't. I'm not meant for this. Like, this is embarrassing. I know better than this. I'm better than this. How can I do this, you know? And so I didn't touch a head for years, all the way up until I was 29. So about 10 years. Nope. That's a lie. Sorry. Scratch that. I was 20. Child, this math is not. So my baby was born 2019. I was 25 when I had her. So 25. Because I started doing hair again at home after I had my first baby. And I was just taking people here and there, just to get that spark back. But low key, whole time, I think it was the Holy Spirit. I know it was the Holy Spirit that reignited that, because people randomly out of the blue started asking me to do hair again. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing nothing. I'm just here with the baby. Yeah, come on. She's just gonna sit in her little bouncer and just watch her little Coco Melon when Coco Melon was hot, And yeah, come on, come get your hair done. But it's a little $30, right? So I was doing that, and then God was like, yeah, get back to doing hair. So I was so scared. I was so scared. I'm like, Lord, if this is you, I need confirmation. And when he sends confirmation, for me, he sends it through people and through dreams. And when I say he sent it through people, like back to back, people telling me, get back into doing hair. Why aren't you doing hair? I think you should get back into doing hair. Like, whatever. So, but I also knew it was God, because when God really puts a burden on me, I've said this in other videos, he puts it in my chest. Like, it's like a burning literally right here in my chest. I feel it physically, So I'm like, all right, Holy Spirit. And so I was like, okay, well, where do I start? So I'm like, let me just see about going to work at a salon. So I reached out to 2 salons. The first salon I reached out to, she wanted me to travel with her to Houston and be like her assistant or whatever. I'm like, that sounds like really dope, but I have a baby and I can't do that right now. So I'm gonna have to pass on that. The second salon I reached out to, she showed me a lot of favor, and I'm just so grateful for her. And she taught me everything that I know. I'm so grateful for her. So I'm doing hair, I'm doing locks specifically out of my house. And I am just doing what I saw on YouTube, And so when I come work for her, she's like, well, show me how you do it. And she just stands over me. She'll allow like a walk-in to come in the door. She's like, Paige, this is your client. I'm like, okay, great. So I'll take the client and she will just be like, just show me what you do. So I'll just show her how I do it, how I went on YouTube. And she's like, let me show you how to really do it. And she perfected everything, from my parts to the products that I use to the way I teach clients and consult clients on how to maintain their hair at home, to just everything, how to grow my business, just everything. She just showed me a lot of favor in that. She said that normally when she brings people in, she makes them pay her up front. And then she teaches them, and then she allows them to rent a booth. She said, but something told her to not charge me. I'm like, that's God. But I didn't say that to her, but I know, like, God was showing me a lot of favor in this because it's something he told me to do. So boom, I start doing that. I'm working with her. We developed a good relationship, and things were good. And then God just told me, okay, it's time for you to move, right? And I was only there for a few months. So I'm like, I didn't feel qualified. I didn't feel ready. But God told me it's time for me to move. Felt that burden. So I'm like, all right, Lord. So he pointed me to some salon suites in Southfield. I'm in Michigan. And I started working there in my own suite. So when I left, she said, the lady I was working for said, well, I'm just going to shut this suite down and just keep the suite that I'm in. She had 2 suites, right? And so I'm like, okay. So there was another girl in the suite with me. And she's like, I guess she's just going to have to find somewhere to go. So I'm like, dang. She says she's shutting the suite down. Where are you going to go? The girl says, well, can I come with you? I'm like, yeah. And it worked out because I had to leave at a certain time to pick up my baby from school or from daycare. And she was in school during the day, and she could only work at the times that I wasn't there anyway. So it completely worked out. So we ended up sharing a suite, splitting the cost together. So yeah, my baby, that she starts kindergarten this year. She just started. And I realized the suites that I'm in are far from her school. And I'm like, it's not going to work, because if something happens at my baby's school, I need to just drop everything, be able to get there in like minutes, you know? So I start asking God, I'm like, Lord, just show me where to go. Show me where to go. Boom. This was over the summer. So over the summer, this lady, she posts some salon suites that are for sale. And it's like fully occupied. They're so pretty. And she was posted them for like $50,000, something like that. I'm like, there's gotta be a way I can come up with $50,000. So I tell my husband, he's like, yeah, we can get $50,000, right? We're just normal, everyday people, okay? We're not like, we not rolling in all the dough right now. I'm claiming it for the future, but right now, that's not where we at, okay? And so he's like, yeah, we can go $50,000. I'm like, what if we could come up with $50,000? We would have came up with $50,000, you know? More of the story, she drops the price, and she drops it again, and she drops it like to a ridiculously attainable number. I'm like, babe, we gotta get these suites, right? And I'm running the numbers. I'm seeing what she's written them out for, and I call her, and she tells me what she's leasing the building for. I'm like, the profit on this is crazy. Like, I literally don't have to work. Like, I can just have my own suite and work when I want to and still be making money. So pick up my kids and be with my kids and, you know, whatever. And so she ends up selling the suite. I'm like, ah. So I'm praying. I'm like, Lord, I want this. Like, I want some suites. Can you just make this happen for me? This was back in May of this year. We're in 2025. Okay. So I ended up talking. Well, I'm telling a lot of information, so I'm not gonna tell all the stuff. But I ended up talking to someone about the suite situation, and he's like, "Whoa, that's like an amazing business opportunity. Next time something like that comes up, call me. I'll throw you the money for it." I'm like, really? So I go on a hunt, and I'm hunting for a situation like this, right? And I wish I brought my charger because my phone is about to die. So I'm going to try to rush through the story. And I'm hunting for a situation like this. And I don't come up with anything. But the same lady ends up posting a salon with suites inside of it, minutes from my baby's school. So I casually mention it to this person. And he's like, yeah, I'll throw you the money. Throws me the money. She has it fully staffed. Two of the suites is open. One for me, one for the girl that came with me from the original salon. We move in, fully operational. My clients come with me. My business starts growing. All because God gave me a burden when I was a stay-at-home mom, getting restless in 2023. We're in 2025. I just opened up a new I moved in to a new salon, took over as the owner of a new salon, and now I have space to hold classes, I have space to hold product, I have space to train, I have space to just be creative. And I'm just so grateful. So, because my phone's about to die, I'm just going to end this and say, mamas, there's some mamas out there who are exactly where I was in 2023 with that burden that God gave you. Act on it. Move on it. Be obedient. Take that first step. Do the research. Let him bring you people. Pray for him to bring you people. And just take the step. Be obedient. It's terrifying, but he got you. I love you. Have a good day.